Welcome to the A2 Show with Andrew Cass and Aaron Parkinson, bringing you the trends and topics that affect our lives the most: business, politics, fitness, family, and finance. With over 50 plus years of combined business experience and over $1 billion in revenue generated, your hosts have a unique gift for seeing many steps ahead where others do not. They bring their unfiltered, contrarian views to the show every week to help you win in business and in life.
Well, we're going under the hood this week here with some ninja level tech tools led by my man Aaron over here to my left.
First off, let's talk about this. Let's talk about this shirt you got going on here.
What about my shirt?
It's the Joe Rogan shirt.
You know, I noticed it. You know, he was doing the Trump interview, and he's usually in a T-shirt. Did you notice, Aaron? He's usually in a shirt like yours.
Yep. And
he had the nice black, fresh pressed collar on. He looked like he dressed up for Trump on the Joe Rogan Experience. And I happen to have had one of those in my closet, so I thought since we wore black shirts on our show, I thought maybe I'd freshen up and go with the pressed button down black shirt as well. Are you saying it's a like?
It's a like.
I'm hitting the like button on my black collared shirt, buddy. I'm gonna throw that out there right now. I'm hitting the like button.
What's really funny is that if you're a UFC fan, where Joe has been a commentator for over a decade.
That's his thing, right?
He wears that shirt all the time when he's...
I thought so. I thought like in the Vegas fights and whatnot, I would see him a little more button down black, but on the show, it's very T-shirt feeling.
It is, but clearly he felt the need to kind of dress up a little bit, you know?
Maybe this is his presidential look.
I found it interesting from a psychological perspective.
I thought it was good. By the way, that interview was really good. Like Trump or hate Trump, it doesn't matter. I think what we saw was a fantastic 2-hour sit-down interview with a candidate. Forget the names for a minute, right? A 2.5-hour sit-down with Trump. I'd love to see a 2.5-hour sit down with Harris, but we probably won't. I think it's really good for the country just to listen to people talk. No tough questions, no tricking people, no cornering people, right? Just get to know the people. Talk about current events. If you get into office, what would you do about this? But not like, hey, you did this and this person said this. It was very not like that, Aaron. I thought, and we both were texting each other. It was funny. We ended up watching it at the same time on a Saturday, and we were texting, hey, did you see the Rogan? And yet we were both watching it at the same time. It was so funny. We're in different countries, right? But yeah, I thought it was good to see just a conversation. And Joe's a genius. He said his words. He said, I just want to sit down and get to know the guy, just like I want to sit down and get to know the girl. That's it. That's the only motivation, just so the American people have more of not 5-minute and 10-minute sound bites with commercials and questions that only have 2-minute ends and whatnot. It was just a conversation. Now, Trump's a rambler. He's a little bit of a rambler. And I think that's an age thing. That's why I've always been against Trump as the candidate. I think he's past his time. I don't think you've said this on the show, Aaron. I don't think anybody should be 75 plus running for president, in my view. Other people might say 80. Some people might say 70. But he's a rambler, and Harris can't even form 2 sentences. So, we've got not maybe the best candidates in the world, but I think that from a standpoint of looking at the teams they've assembled, you can't argue that Trump has assembled some really fine people on his team.
That's a super team.
That's right, like the Avengers, if you ask me. There's no team on the other side. So,
I actually said to you before we got on the show, I actually have found Trump difficult to like. In the past, he's come across very like mean, bullyish, crass, a little bit unhinged,
pissed off. Which I guess rightfully so if you keep getting sued for everything, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, the sound bites, obviously, that you hear, and maybe that's by choice, right? That's sort of the perception that I have. I actually found him quite endearing, funny, like normal. I hate to use that word, but normal.
Down to earth, authentic. Doesn't matter what you think or what the media says. It's just two guys having a conversation, and it's very healthy for America because that's the candidate. The candidate is the candidate. This candidate actually got elected. The other candidate didn't. So it's good to hear from the candidates that aren't on getting grilled by ABC or NBC or Fox, and they just get to talk. So I thought it was good to see. And I hope we see it with Harris, but there's probably no chance. In fact, last I heard, and I'm hoping to God this is a rumor, that of course he invited her, And she said, no, we won't come to the studio in Austin, which, by the way, that's the whole point. It's the Joe Rogan experience. They usually make a day out of it. He has this massive complex. That's only been the model for about 12 years. But she actually has the audacity to think that, oh, you know what? You can come to me and we're only going to do an hour. An hour for her is like a marathon. She's usually doing a 20-minute interview with 4 commercials. She has no stamina. But it isn't that she has no stamina. She has no policy or accomplishments to actually stand on. So it would be really tough to sit with Joe when you really haven't done anything. In fact, you could argue that you've wrecked a lot of things.
I just found it interesting that I don't know how many views it's had at this point.
Isn't it like 50 million or something, Aaron, at this point?
It was growing so fast, and I haven't looked at it in the last couple of days. The last I saw was 40 million.
And that was like 3-4 days out. And this is, I think that there's something like 80 million subscribers to the Spotify channel because that's where his contract is. That's a third of the population, Aaron, when you think about it.
I'm just talking about how many views were on the YouTube video.
Oh, geez. I'm thinking Spotify in that regard. No?
I'm searching it right now.
Okay.
Because I want to know.
Right now. You're searching it right now.
Let's just see how many views are on it right now.
So how many views? So we are shooting the show on the 30th of October.
Yeah.
And I think they did it on Friday, which would have been where are we here on my calendar here? 20... Oh, it's already Wednesday. So we're shooting the show Wednesday at 30th. Show was the 25th. So 5 days in, Aaron. What is that thing doing? Obviously, we're talking about this because we're on a podcast, and these podcast numbers to me are staggering from a business standpoint. Wow. I mean, this is bigger viewership than Fox and CNN and MSNBC combined, if you ask me.
So as of today, at least what YouTube shows on just views of the full interview, it's 40 million views. It was uploaded 4 days ago.
I wonder what Spotify is because Spotify, I think, is a subscriber thing. So if you have 60 million subscribers, then 60 million people are going to get fed that show, right? I guess that's the point, right? So yeah, that's big. That's big time. And it very well, it may very well actually win him the nomination because that show is so big.
And that's why I think to myself, why wouldn't you jump at the opportunity to be on a show like that?
You can't. How would you jump to the opportunity when literally every aspect of America is wrecked in 4 years? What are you going to do? Stand by that? You really can't, man.
To have a conversation? I mean, the whole.
Listen, listen, Joe Rogan's a smart guy. And he even said to Trump, I mean, he said some things like, he asked some tough questions, but he knows what went on in the last 4 years. You'd have to be brain dead or brainwashed to not know what they did with the border alone. If he pressed her on the border alone, she could lose the election in 1 hour. Because it's so bad what they did. I mean, it's so inhumane what they did. Largest human trafficking ring in world history, and they enabled it and they undid at least, last I counted, 40 executive orders that just undid the laws. I mean, that's like unleashing chaos. And then tried to cover it, and then tried to make it like you needed a bill to fix it, but yet you would never need a bill to protect your own country. That's the point of the job, right? It's like telling a cop, you can't go protect the community and don't go patrolling in your police car because we don't have enough money. No, that's the job. That's what the taxpayers pay for, right? So what if she got into that conversation? It would be a disaster. That alone, it'd be unrecoverable.
So in your opinion, strategically, this is the equivalent of her taking the fifth?
I would say that's a really good way to put it. I think that she's done what she's had to do with going on Fox. That was a nightmare. CNN town hall disaster. ABC interview nightmare. And those are left-wing channels. And they did I have to give really, really big kudos right now to ABC and CNN. I knew Fox would press her because it's the other side. But ABC and CNN pressed her hard and she melted down like you've never seen. And I was like, wow, these are channels that are supporting her. But they're like, but wait a minute, you said this, but wait a minute, that's not what you did. But wait a minute, you can't say you're part of the solution because you undid the laws that were the solution. So they were actually, I had to like pinch myself. Am I sleeping? Are they actually asking real journalist questions? It was a disaster. Was that every time she takes an interview like that, her poll numbers go down by 1%. I've seen it's like a rock in the ocean. So it's a double-edged sword. They go like this. We've got to put her out there because everybody's saying that we're dodging it. But if we put her out there, the polls go down. But if we don't put her out there, the polls go down. So the polls just keep going down. That's a pickle, man.
I will tell you this, and I know you obviously have your stance. You've mentioned it many times on the show. I'm choosing to be optimistic, and I'm hoping that on Wednesday morning I wake up. landslide victory, done, over, moving forward, everybody breathes, and we can get back to being normal. That's what I'm going to hold on to in my mind.
I think you are very hopeful, and I'm with you, and I hope that that is exactly the case. I hope it's a fair and square election and there's no shenanigans and people can be cool with whoever the winner is. But like I said, the real issue will be between November and January when it comes to swearing the person in, because unfortunately there's about, I estimate, 30% of the population, it's a big number, that genuinely would like to see America burn down before they want Trump to get elected. I think that's very bad, which means they will do everything in their power not to certify the victory if it's a big victory. Their track record speaks volumes. Hopefully it's not the case. I'd love to be wrong, but I just don't trust them.
Yeah, but I think you could say that on both sides. I think that if Harris won in a fair election, you'd also see a huge proponent of Trump fans wanting to burn the country down.
You would definitely see kickback, but you wouldn't see Congress trying to decertify it. And right now they're already talking about not certifying the winner before there's a winner. So the right isn't talking about that. The left already is. So I'm going by their words, not by my theory. I'm going by them saying if he gets elected, we might try to implement the insurrection clause, which means we can't certify him. They're not saying that on the right. They're already projecting that on the left. That's why I'm saying it. So yes, I hope we have a fair and square winner. Good, done, gone. But I hope that it's smooth from November into January where the certification takes place, so that then the country can get back to the business of America and not the business of every other damn country that this administration is in right now.
Are you ready for how I'm going to actually segue to the topic?
Yeah, you should segue.
Of today.
Let's do
it. It's going to be tough to segue, but I'm going to do it. Are you ready for this?
Tough times. We're a week away, and then we'll start getting more focused.
Here's how we're going to segue.
Yeah.
Regardless of who wins, and regardless of how long it takes to get somebody sworn in, even worst case scenario.
Yep.
2025 is right around the corner.
2025 is around the corner. That's true.
And regardless of who wins, there will be a lowering of the volume. There will be a renewed sense of optimism for a lot of people. And for a lot of people who will be unhappy about whoever won, they will say, well, I'm dealing with what I'm dealing with. It's time to get back to work.
Right on.
We got 4 more years.
Yep.
So if you're like me, and that's where your head is focused right now, we got to get a jump on 2025.
Agreed.
And the purpose of this episode today was to educate you, enlighten you on some tools that could give you a severely unfair advantage against your competitors going into 2025 so that you can ensure the highest level of competitiveness and profitability. How'd you like that segue?
I love it. Let's do it. Take it away. I know these spy tools that you're going to share are in your wheelhouse.
Yeah.
And I'm anxious to probably learn about a couple of them, and then I'll press you on a few of them.
So today we're going to talk about 4 different tools we're using consistently inside of our agency right now. And for those who don't know, I own a digital marketing agency, and our goal, there's 2 types of agencies in the world. There's branding agencies and there's direct response agencies. Branding agencies are who like the Coca-Colas hire, right? We want you to do a big commercial. It needs to be emotion. It needs to get people talking about it. You know, they're so big at this point, they don't do direct response. They do big brand campaigns.
They just keep you front of mind.
Exactly. And try to just create emotion, right? Direct response is, I'm a service provider or I have a product and I have a $10,000 a month budget that I want to put towards ads. And I need to mathematically see from a data-driven approach that I put in 10 and I got out 20 or 30 or 100 or whatever your goal KPI is. That's the world that I live in, which is very stressful. It's very cutthroat. It's very high stakes. You know, some of our clients are spending as much as $100,000 a day. You know, when you're spending that much money, you need to make sure that you are leveraging every possible thing that you can to be ahead of your competition.